Hello again, everyone. I know, another video tonight, but this is just, I was reading this before dinner and I couldn't believe it. And so I have to do this. So the Globe and Mail published this piece today, September 26, 2018. And it's an opinion piece by Denise Balkasun. I should stop saying names. Faith Goldy doesn't want to be mayor of Toronto. That's the name. That's the title of the piece. I don't want to write about Faith Goldy running for mayor. I don't want to write about Faith Goldy running for mayor. I don't want to write about her because she's a troubling extremist. Okay, so the whole point of this article is not to give you information about a candidate who's polling third, is not to tell you that she is tough on crime or what her positions on immigration are or illegal border crossers or how she differs from the other two who are polling 1 and 2. Why is she third? Is there a reason she's third? There's no information here, just that she's racist. You better know she's racist before you hear anything that she's done. She's racist. She's a racist. And you're racist almost for knowing her name. How do you know her name, you racist? Back to the article. I don't know how to explain who Faith Goldy is without using terms like racist and white supremacist, but here goes. She's a woman in her late 20s who graduated from the University of Toronto, and the rest is pointless drivel and should have been left out, Denise. Miss Goldy used to host a radio show on Rebel Media, Canada's infotainment platform for the far right. While there, she did a segment on how immigration contributes to white genocide. So I found that, because that's what I do. And I'm just going to show you the first minute, the intro, minute and a bit. This is a factual report. And the definition of genocide I had up here earlier, but I've lost it for whatever reason. But I'll find it while the clip's playing. But this is a factual report. Link will be in the description. Maybe give it a watch. It's interesting. And it's something that I would do as well. Like a report that I would do. And I would find really interesting to dig into the information. It's interesting. It's a good report. It's solid based on fact.
If I asked you which Western country you think is experiencing the fastest rate of ethnic change, which would you guess? Britain, France, Sweden, Denmark, Belgium, the US? All of those answers, well, they'd be wrong, because according to international demographers, it's actually Canada that occupies the top spot for fastest rate of ethnic change in the West. Now, immigration is not nearly as openly discussed here as it is, say, in the US or in Europe. However, it's something that I talk about a lot, but usually I discuss the cultural and socioeconomic effects of migration, legal or otherwise. Today, though, I just want to talk about demographics. Canada is a country of some 35 million people, and each year we accept roughly 300,000 immigrants. That means our per capita immigration rate is about double that of the US and Germany, while we even outrank immigrant welcome jurisdictions like Sweden. Meantime, 4 out of 5 of Canada's immigrants are visible minorities. I live in a city, Toronto, where the term majority minority is used a lot to describe the ethnic makeup of our metropolis, i.e. the majority of our population here is made up from people from visible minorities. And considering how many immigrants arrive each year, where 4/5 are visible minorities, and how obsessed our Prime Minister is with the quotas and multicultural virtue signaling, well, you'd think that our whole country is majority minority, right? Not even close. Actually, according to recent national household survey data collected in the country, roughly 76% of Canada's population is white. That's a 4% drop in 5 years, which followed a 3.3% drop from the 5-year span before that. So while the white population in Canada is on the decline at 76% of the total population, it's safe to say that there's still a very sizable majority. But
Okay, and I'll leave it there. Check out the report if you're interested. It's well sourced, as I said. Nothing wrong with it. And is reporting on something like that racist? Is framing it as genocide the racist thing? Is that a problem? Genocide. The deliberate killing of a large group of people, especially those of a particular ethnic group or nation. So, is committing genocide through breeding out a population that you don't like, specifically white people, does that not count? Does that not meet that definition? I think it does, right? So is reporting on something that is uncomfortable and potentially happening, is that wrong? Is that racist? That's interesting to frame it that way. Globe and Mail. Skip down a little bit. I do marvel that she was eventually fired from the Rebel of all places for appearing on a podcast affiliated with the Daily Stormer, a proudly neo-Nazi website. Ah, yes, okay, so I found that interview too, the interview that got Faith Goldy fired. So I'm just going to play you about a minute of this as well. The setup for this is she went down to the Charlottesville riot. She was in the Charlottesville riots and she was reporting on it, and she was fired essentially for all of this. But she was bringing truth to people. She was just bringing information, factual information to people. The people that she's being interviewed by had the permits to be there, and they're talking about. You'll hear what they're talking about. Hold on a second.
The fact that the police came in when you guys all had your permits, and you showed up in hordes, and I salute you all for doing just that. Not a Roman salute, guys. But yeah, you guys showed out. You crossed all your T's, dotted all your I's, did everything the legit way. And then what happened was that these police in full riot gear come shut you down, and then they quarantine everyone into these little mini riots. And I've never seen anything like this, where 2-3 hours after the scheduled event was supposed to happen, Antifa all of a sudden, and BLM all of a sudden decide that they know exactly where to meet, where they're going to stage their little march through the streets. And I'm telling you, I saw cops in full riot gear all dang day long. All of a sudden, there wasn't a single man or woman in uniform, well, it was mostly men, let's be honest, in uniform, anywhere while this was all going down. It was very dodgy. And I mean, besides the helicopter crashing, and God rest the souls of the men who were there, massive failures on the police front today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So she's being interviewed. Okay, so this is link will be in the description, and I'm going to read this guy's work just because it's linked here, and I think the context is important, okay? So, quote, this was the interview that resulted in Rebel media reporter Faith Goldy losing her job. She had attended as a reporter the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia on August 12, 2017. Scenes of Faith Goldy reporting on the rally are in this video, while in Virginia, Miss Goldy also participated in an interview on an alt-right podcast called The Crypto Report that is affiliated with the white supremacist website Daily Stormer website. See below info for more. So the link to this will be in the description. The videos of Faith in Charlottesville has been edited due to its sensitive content and can be seen in full at this link. So he's just sourcing his stuff as well. So I appreciate your work, man. Thank you very much. I'm borrowing it. But you should listen to the whole interview. She doesn't say anything. There's one point where she says that you shouldn't be ignored as a movement. You shouldn't be ignored. What you're saying is not resonating, but people are listening. That's what she says. Listen to it yourself and make up your own mind. My point isn't necessarily Faith Goldy. My point is it okay for the media to label somebody racist for merely reporting on facts and talking with people who are interested in talking with them? If you get an interview to go on a podcast and you say yes, then should you be then removed from contention for political office indefinitely? I mean, maybe that's the right thing to do. I don't think so. I think free speech is free speech, and if you have something to say to the people, better to get it out there and say it, and then you can fizzle out, right? If your ideas are bad, share them, and they'll fizzle out, or they won't, and people will come together, and then larger groups will tell you why they're bad, right? Maybe that's where I'm missing a point. I don't know. Okay, so that was the Daily Stormer, proud neo-Nazi website. A few months later, on another so-called alt-right show, she recited another white supremacist phrase asking why it should be so controversial. After that, she was kicked off PayPal and the crowdfunding platform Patreon. So, yeah, we're going to go watch that too. So this is Ezra firing her. So this happened in November, I believe. Oh, August 2017, so last year. So it's a minute, so we'll watch it.
I like Faith Goldy. How can you not? Brilliant, beautiful, tough, hardworking, great journalist. She's done amazing work from her investigation into illegal immigrants at the U.S. border, to bringing humanitarian aid to Iraq for Christian refugees, to being the most pro-Israel star in our company. I was upset that she went to the Charlottesville protest despite my direction to her not to go in any capacity, but we all screw up. You don't throw someone overboard for making a mistake. Each of us are second chancers here. Our whole company is a second chance. But then I saw the news that she had gone on a podcast from the Daily Stormer, and it was just too far. So we said goodbye. Tough week, but we're going to get back to work now. For the Rebel.media, I'm Ezra Levans.
All right, so that's Ezra saying bye. So, okay, so Faith goes on to, this is in December 2017, and I'm just going by the YouTube published dates here. Faith goes on to RWW News, Right Wing Watch News, and so she's a right-wing figure because she's on Rebel Media, so they're watching her. She's in a chat with somebody else, like a Google Hangout, right? And from a podcast, and I can't remember, it's, well, they've got MW on there, but it's Right Wing Watch that's interviewing her. And the chat pad that she's looking at are, like if you're live streaming on YouTube or something like that, and there's a chat pad there, that's like the audience members are goading her into saying these 14 words. And I'm going to tell you what the 14 words are, because I didn't understand her after this is done. But yeah, so here's the controversial 14 words.
Me to say the 14 words, chat? Is that what this is? Okay, he wants
No. It's no, I don't want you. It's just the chat we're asking you to. So I thought, well, should I propose that or not?
Okay, all right. Do you want me to do it? We must
Sure.
secure the existence of our people and a future for white children.
Yeah.
Is that controversial though? Like, I don't see that that's controversial. Is that bad? Like, I think it's controversial to say the opposite. Like, I think it's controversial to say, like, we must not secure our future and we must not secure the existence. Like what? Like that's the whole thing, is that once you just think about this, like, very, very simply and logically, you realize that it's not like, okay, like, haha, rah, rah, but like, these aren't sophisticated ideas at their most, like, basis point. Like, we want to survive.
Exactly. Exactly. The chat is going ecstatic that you said those words.
I'm sorry. I didn't know it was such a big deal. I'm sorry. I'm a boomer.
No. It's
Okay, and well, the words that she says are, we must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. That's what she said. And here is again, she's addressing this again on March 25th, 2018.
And that was another thing, that they were all freaking out about the fact that I had said the 14 words. And I was like, look, I don't know. I know that this guy, David Lane, said them. I don't know anything about him. I've never bothered to look into him. But, on its face value, the 14 words, I mean, supplant white children with black children, with indigenous children, with Chinese children. And people would not give a damn about it. And I will say about my speech,
we must secure the existence of our people and a future for Asian children. We must secure the existence of our people and a future for black children. Yeah, feels about the same. Okay.
Speech had been called ethnocide, multiculturalism, and indigenous Canadian identity, not a single person would have been out there protesting. It's only when European Canadians, only when European peoples, when white people decide to basically wake up to their own identity, one that is not mired in victim and oppression intersectionality, but say, hey, I'm actually proud of my history. I know my history, and I'm proud of it, and I know my future, and the outlook is not good if we continue on this trajectory of all of us being replaced within our homelands within the span of a single generation without a democratic mandate. It's only when we start to wake up to those pills that all of a sudden identity politics, well, it's not allowed anymore.
So, okay, within that context, is that racist? Is that enough to be removed from contention for standing in a democratic process? Is that enough to be removed from being talked about in the press at all? Okay, so we looked at the Daily Stormer neo-Nazi stuff. We looked at the alt-right stuff. We looked at the controversial 14 words that got her kicked off of PayPal and crowdfunding platform Patreon. Back to the article. Quote, what's different, of course, is the era... Okay, hold on, I'll go back one here. I don't think that Miss Goldy is especially different from other unsavory characters who have tried to squeeze into the spotlight by running for office. That's an old trick. Another fringe mayoral candidate in this very election is due to get go to court on charges of willfully promoting hate against women and Jewish people. I don't know who that candidate is, so sorry about that. What's different, of course, is the era, one in which self-promotion is cheap and easy, and traditional journalists don't quite know how to employ balance, fairness, and free speech against those who purposely manipulate them. I do include myself among them. What, those who purposefully try to manipulate people? Denise, we gotta talk. My job is to look directly at horrible things, not away from them. But I don't know if my profession or my command of it is capable of battling a constant flow of disinformation and hate. Denise, you started off by calling her, Faith Goldy, a racist and a white supremacist without giving much proof other than, yeah, she works for, obviously, alt-right rebel media, so, you know, she's totally a racist, right, guys? Yeah, that's your journalistic integrity? Come on, Denise. I know you better than that. My goodness. Okay, so you do include yourself among them. Your job is to look directly at horrible things. Okay, fine. You're reluctantly writing about Miss Goldy. Okay, back to first person article. Because she's succeeding in making herself impossible to ignore. In August, she posted a picture of herself posing with uniformed police officers, which contravenes the Police Services Act's provision against political activity. Hold on a second. Mayor Tory, don't you know that contravenes the... Hold on, what did she call it? Yeah. Toronto Police Service said the officer didn't know she was a candidate, although she was wearing a shirt with an all-caps slogan, Faith for Mayor. Well, you know, that guy's John Tory, right? He owns most of the Rogers Corporation. Well, he's got a controlling interest of it. He's on the Rogers Control Trust. You should Google what the Rogers Control Trust is, but this guy controls a $30 billion company in addition to being the mayor of Toronto. So he's allowed to pose with police, I guess. No problem there, Mr. Tory. Mayor, sir, are you campaigning or here in an official capacity? Can I just get a picture? Yeah, I'm going to post it on my mayoral website. Yeah, thanks. Ha! How does that work, hey? That's kind of funny. Back to the article. Last weekend, she posted a photo of herself with Ontario Premier Doug Ford, not the first, and the fallout lasted all week. On Monday, the provincial NDP asked Mr. Ford to denounce her, and he refused. Asked again on Tuesday, he mentioned hate speech, but not her. On Wednesday, a campaign robocall in which she mentioned his name made the rounds, after which Mr. Ford tweeted that he condemned racism in all forms, be it from Faith Goldy or anyone else. Well, listen, I don't know that having somebody appear to a podcast who asked her to show up to talk about a specific event she was at reporting on, and being goaded by a right-wing chat to say, hey, these 14 magic words qualifies to have the premier denounce somebody. Really? Is that a little bit much, everybody? Okay, back to the article. Also on Monday, Miss Goldy crashed the stage at the mayoral debate and was let off by police. You can check out my video I'll put it in the description. It made it clear who the incumbent mayor, John Tory, was referring to when in early September he released a statement that he would, quote, debate any candidate who does not have a history of spreading hate speech or bigotry. Candidate Jennifer Keesmet was more clear. Her campaign email said that, quote, she would never accept a debate proposal that included Faith Goldy or any of the other white nationalists as participants. So anybody that I don't want to debate, I'm just going to label a white nationalist. Ha! Gotcha. That's my trump card, baby. Okay. This is where Denise kind of goes off the rails. Quote, I do know that the slim, feminine, and yes, white Miss Goldy gets away with behaving aggressively in a public space in a way that people who live in other types of bodies could never get away with. Ha! I mean, okay, great. So she's not only is she a racist, but she's a pretty racist who can get away with it because she's a pretty racist. Do you take yourself seriously, Denise? I'm not sure, because I'm beginning to think you're trolling me. That's where I'm going to leave you. Please do make up your own mind. This isn't an article. This isn't a story for me saying please vote Faith Goldy or please don't vote Faith Goldy. This is please be informed. Look at all this stuff. Look at the information at your fingertips, and maybe tell Denise that she needs to rewrite this article and maybe look at some facts a little bit closer. So this story, aside from all of that, is more, should the media be able to label anybody they want as hateful enough to be excluded? Because if it's okay for this one, it's going to be okay for the federal 2019 election, and it's going to be okay from now on until something major changes. So, I don't know, man. We need to make some noise or just sit down and be quiet. And what did they call that word again? Genocide? Yeah. Genocide.